everyone, welcome back to meditation. Thank you so much for joining me today. This week we started 2 Corinthians 10, 3, 4, and 5. We focused a lot on verse 4 yesterday, so today I want to do more on verse 5, but we're just going to read through it and see where the Lord takes us. For though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they are divine. They have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. All right, so I'm going to read just a couple of verse 4, and then we'll go to verse 5. The weapons we use in our campaign are not weapons the world uses. They are filled with divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish false arguments. In the strength of God, we are mighty enough to raise all strongholds of our foes. For even though we live in the world, we do not fight on its level. Our implements of war are not manufactured by the world, but loaded by God for smashing fortresses. I love that. My weapon is loaded by God for smashing fortresses. With them, we explode learned discourses and every highfalutin wisecrack against the true knowledge of God. With them, we explode learned discourses and highfalutin wisecrack against the true knowledge of God. Anything that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. For the weapons of our campaign are not corporal, but powers from God, for the purpose of destroying fortresses, defeating opponents, and every pride exalting itself against the knowledge of God. But powers from God for the purpose of destroying fortresses, defeating opponents, and every pride exalting itself against the knowledge of God. Every situation that we face, we have weapons that are not of this world, but of the spirit realm, of the divine nature. I have that weapon. I have those weapons always with me that defeat the fortresses of the enemy, that defeat strongholds in my mind, defeats pride, defeats every opponent in the spirit realm. I have those weapons always with me. All right, so verse 5. Verse 5. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ, and pull down every towering obstacle reared up against the knowledge of God. We take every thought prisoner and make it obey Christ. That is so good. You pull down every towering obstacle that has reared up against the knowledge of God. The knowledge of God. For one, you can know that God is good. And so if there's thoughts attacking you or people saying things that, oh, well, the Lord did this and the Lord did that or whatever, you know that He is good. And so you take those thoughts captive and you take those rumors captive and you take those things and you set them aside and you say that is trying to set itself up against the knowledge of God. And what I know of God is that He is good. And so that I know that there is a separate answer for this situation, or I know that the devil is the one that robs, steals, kills, and destroys, but God gives life. And so you take that knowledge of God's goodness and God of who He is, and you pull down those strongholds trying to make you look at God differently than you do. We want to always remember that He is good. Okay, we break down every thought and proud thing that puts itself up against the wisdom of God. We take hold of every thought and make it obey Christ. And every towering obstacle erected to prevent men from knowing God. An obstacle that is erected to prevent men from knowing God. We demolish opposing reasonings and all presuppositions, unbelief, and all presumptuous unbelief that, like a towering fortress, rears itself against the knowledge of God, and we take captive and render submissive to Christ every defiant thought. That's so good. We demolish opposing reasonings and all presumptuous unbelief, like a towering fortress that rears itself against the knowledge of God, and we take captive and render it submissive to Christ every defiant thought. Casting down reasonings, speculations, these weapons can break down every proud argument against God and every wall that can be built to keep men from finding Him. With these weapons, I can capture rebels and bring them back to God and change them into men whose heart's desire is obedience to Christ. That is a beautiful one right there. These weapons can break down every proud argument against God and every wall that can be built to keep men from finding Him. So when there is lies out there about God's goodness and who He is and what He does, it is preventing people from knowing Him. And our goal is to reconcile people to God. Our goal is to help people find His goodness and His love, because He loves us so much, you guys, and every single person, no matter what you've done, He loves you so much. And we want to break down these things in our mind that are telling us that He doesn't love us, or that He is putting this on us to make us, because we deserved it, or because of our action, or because we are sinful. That is all a lie. The truth is that Jesus bore everything on the cross for us. He took our sin and sickness, and He made us righteous. And He just wants us to know that we're righteous and that we are loved so much by Him. All right, you guys, remember that today you are loved.